So one of the things in the paper that you talk about is, as you have older children, you talk about an investment or administrative committee for the philanthropy.
Yes.
Can you share, what are your thoughts on that? Help me to understand what that means. We're talking about if a family has a philanthropy themselves, is that what, or like in the case of my client, they have a donor advised fund.
Right. The fun of philanthropy in growing social capital in the family. So when we hear the word social capital, we immediately think of philanthropy external. That's much too narrow to understand its benefit. So if there's a philanthropy or a donor advised fund, having everyone in the room of a certain age helping to make decisions about what's going to be done is the building of the internal social capital and joint decision-making system that every family needs. And unlike the normal decisions about the, let's say, financial capital of that family, this is a question of expression externally.
Got it.
How do we, there's a, so, but the and the internal benefit of participation in the way we're talking about is priceless. You're just building social capital about your own system.
So I want to get really specific for the family businesses that are listening to this.
Sure.
By having it does not have to be large, but having a small donor advised fund.
Yes.
You now have a family philanthropy. You have a place for that. And so what you're saying is, when the kids are over the age of 12, now when the grandparents go to meet with their advisor at the community foundation where the donor advised fund is, they bring the grandchildren.
Take them along, you bet, or through Zoom. No, I'm pushing that because I don't want somebody to say, oh, well, it's too far, I can't get there, I'm too busy. It isn't true anymore.
Correct.
Now, they may be too busy because they don't want to come. That's a different question, but you can't opt out on distance.
Got it. And so now the grandparents should be looking for ways where the grandchildren are working together to make decisions about the donor advised fund or the family philanthropy.
Yes.
It's okay to have conversations about investments, and it's
sure. It's all part of a business.
Compounding interest. And
yes.
And now again, go back to those leadership skills, those communication skills, the working together, teamwork skills, being able to speak, being able to ask for things, having gratitude for giving.
Correct.
It's just this is what I call it is the sandbox for entrepreneurship.
Yeah, it is exactly that. It's exactly that. Now, Michael, I wanted not to throw any cold water on this, but I do want to say one thing to our wonderful audience. Inadvertently, early on when I did this, I was recommending it to a family I cared a lot about, and I thought it was a slam dunk. And a month later, the matriarch called me, and she was in tears. And she said, Jay, we had this idea. We loved it. My husband and I wanted to gather the grandchildren. And she said, I didn't realize that one of my daughters-in-law felt that we had not dealt properly with her. Not financially, but emotionally. So she said to us, not yet. So I do want to say to everybody who's listening, this is grounded in an invitation that the parents are going to be comfortable accepting. Yeah. So I've left the parents out. We laughed about the enemies and allies, natural allies, but we must be very conscious that not every family can use this if its own internal self is not pretty intact. Because it sounds pretty easy for the grandparents, but I thought, Michael, before we closed, we ought to make sure that we've said, look, just hate, as my dad used to say, hasten slowly.
Yes.
just be sure that you've thought through the parents, not from an exclusion, but how do you include the parents because the parents are keen that this takes place?
Yeah.
Isn't that an interesting way to look at it?
Very. And if perchance you think that you're going to get a warm welcome to this and you don't, count your blessings, because now you know you have an area that is within your family that you have the ability to take to do something about it. When if you get that message that it's not welcome, it's a gift.
It is a gift, and it is one of the few times you might get essentially that cue, and then you say, wow, I've got some work to do that I didn't know I had to do, or maybe I sensed it, but I'm just being careful because frankly, I was so surprised. Yeah. I just thought, oh, this is easy. This is fine. Everybody, will go dancing out into the light, but no, not necessarily. So